Hi, I'm George with NS345. Welcome back to the Metal Mix Through for Beginners in Studio One. Today I'm going to focus on the static mix. My goal for the static mix is to make sure that I end up with a level that's appropriate for mixing going forward. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that once I'm done with the static mix, my mix output level in RMS, it's at 0 VU equals minus 18 dBFS RMS. That means that when I adjust the tracks, I'm going to look at the master fader to see where that level is at and just keep an eye on it. Now, I want to make sure that my tracks are well balanced with each other. So I'm not going to let that master output level dictate how I set up my balancing between the tracks, but I am going to keep an eye on it. So this way my faders are not way down because my monitor is either too quiet or too loud. So let's get to it. What I want to do is make sure that I get a good section. So I'm going to loop a good loud section of the song so I can use that as my base for the mix level. I think chorus 3 may be appropriate. Okay, so what I want to do before I get started with the static mix, I want to set up some VCAs just to help me with the static mix process. I'm going to select the drum tracks. I'm going to click on Add VCA for selected channels. I'm going to do one for the guitars. And one for my stems. Great. The drum VCA, I'm just going to call it D VCA. I don't have that many tracks, so it's not difficult to pay attention to which one it is. Guitars, G VCA. And the stems VCA, I'm just going to call it stems. And I'm going to give the VCAs a neutral color. Say yellow, it stands out pretty good. All right, great. Okay, so now to help me set up my levels, I'm going to bring up the VU meter from the master fader. Just going to use that, set up to minus 18. And I'm going to start working with the faders. So as you can see, with the faders being at unison, the meter, it's already at 0. So that's great. That's a great starting point because we did proper gain staging. Okay, so I'm going to bring down my drums all the way down, my guitars, my bass. I'm going to bring down I'll leave the lead vocal there for a moment, and stems will remain the same. Stems is just in case I get in trouble with headroom. I'm going to leave the vocal where it's at, and I'm going to work around the vocal. I want to make sure that nothing's louder than the vocal.
Basta besta! 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 Basta besta!
I want to make sure that my kick and my snare are balanced against the lead vocal so that when they're playing together, they're not overpowering each other.
Basta besta! Basta besta! Basta besta! Basta besta! Basta pista! Basta pista! Basta pista! Basta pista! Cara! Basta pista! Basta pista! Basta pista! Basta pista! Cara!
I pan the overheads left and right. I'm just gonna balance those. So it's obvious that I'm gonna have to take out some of the kick from the overheads. I like to keep some of it just because it makes it sound bigger, but in the case of metal, I think everything has to be cleaned up really nice. So I am gonna apply a high pass filter at some point to the overheads. So what I'm looking for is making sure my kick and my snare are dead center, and then making sure when he's playing hi-hat, maybe that's a little bit to the left. And I'm doing it drummer's perspective. That's just the way I mix this. I'm not used to mixing audience perspective. Plus it feels kind of funny if you're listening to the music and you're trying to do like air drumming and it's backwards. So, you know, I like to think as a drummer. Bring in the bass. Okay, so one small issue here is the bass. I'm already at unison. I could bring that up, and when I mean at unison, meaning that my fader is already here at 0. Because the drums are well balanced now, I want to be careful with this so I don't run out of either headroom or fader room also, because I like to keep a little bit of room in the fader. So I'm going to bring up the fader. Even though it goes up to the top, it doesn't matter because my gain staging was done appropriately. One thing is that some folks like to keep their faders way down in the mixer, thinking that that's going to produce more headroom. That's not true. What's going to produce more headroom is the actual gain staging. Okay, so I am going to do something here. I'm actually going to duplicate the guitar track. It's got a guitar left and a guitar right. Maybe not. It's only in the chorus that I might need to duplicate it, but I'll do that a little bit later. Okay, so one thing that I'm quickly learning is that you got to make sure your VCA fader remains up here when your tracks are below. I don't know why that is, but because then if I bring this up now, I'd have to do this manually. Okay, because I can't move the VCA. I'm still getting used to the VCA faders in Studio One. I am going to make a change definitely in the chorus here. The lead guitar or the right guitar, it's probably going to have to go to its own track because it's throwing off my balance. Because from the beginning to the chorus, it's playing rhythm, but then it plays a solo part or a lead part when it gets to the chorus. So that's one of the things you need to pay attention to. Bringing down my drums a little bit using the VCA. So for now, I think that that's a good balance for the static mix. Notice if you look at the faders, I didn't do much, but don't focus on the faders themselves. Focus on what's coming out and what you're hearing. The faders for me are merely statics. Just, again, people want to keep the faders low to get headroom. I don't think that matters. I think your gain staging matters. Right now, I have a good healthy level. So if you look at my master VU meter, it's almost at 0. Now it doesn't matter, it could be below that, but I want to keep it around that area. So that means that to keep it around the area, normally with the gain staging, my faders are hovering around 0 on the actual fader channel here, this unison. And I haven't done anything to the stems, and that's fine. I have my mix bus, which I haven't touched. Just listen to it one last time. If you look at the VU meter, it's just peaking right at 0, which is good. I'm really happy with that level. And you're starting to hear some separation. Yes, the mix is muddy just now because there's no plugins, there's no processing. But I'm not concerned with that right now. I'm concerned with getting a good balance so that when I start mixing, I'm not playing around with the faders. One thing that I want to mention before I move on is that I have a kick sample and a snare sample, and I am going to bring those in once I start mixing. So the kick is going to have more bottom end, more body, and so will the snare. The snare sounds good for me to start mixing, but I know some of you metalheads out there may say, well, that kick may not sound strong. It will sound strong once I bring in the sample and I start doing the processing. All right, see you next time.